Okay, so there's a staggering of technology to the public. It's in display in front of us at all times, and it's come in different forms. Now it's artificial intelligence and the Karate Kid and script writing and unoriginal ideas. That's a nostalgia feedback loop into reality consuming itself, like an Ouroboros or whatever that dragon is that eats its own tail. But now, it's actually been in place for a long time. One example of this is in The Matrix. In the scene before Neo is tortured by the agent, he's before he's got the flesh covering his mouth because the Matrix has programmed that. Basically, there's a computer generated imagery that I've noticed that I doubt anyone else has noticed. It's basically taking Keanu Reeves into this phenotypically apex form of Keanu Reeves, making him look exactly like Keanu Reeves should look, except it isn't Keanu Reeves, and it isn't an agent that's opposite him. It's a computer generated imagery that's very advanced. At least it's a overlay over these real people that's got these computer generated forms that's corrective to make it an iconic scene to showcase technology right in front of people without actually giving up too much because they don't want to believe that technology could have been that advanced 25 years ago or more. The other example is in the Harry Potter trilogy. This is conspiratorial, if you like, but I doubt it. Daniel Radcliffe is basically talking to J.K. Rowling and saying that we had terrible acne, and she doesn't believe it because none of us really see that on the other end of the screen. But Daniel Radcliffe is saying that we did have terrible acne and that even makeup could really cover it. At least that's what he was indicating in what he was talking about. And at least I inferred that. And basically, what he's saying is that they probably did some computer trickery to do it, to modify this. But the fact that they're the main characters and that it was towards the early 2000s, towards the last leg of that decade, that the technology has been able to curate and modify what we see on the screen for a long time. And if the Matrix example is true, then how is that transferable to the Karate Kid? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it is the feedback loop of reality coming in on itself in the form of nostalgia. Like the fact that we're able to operate on our technology at the moment is not a given in 10 years. The fact that we have tractors that you can't self-rebuild and self-repair because they need to be sent off to China, something like that, or to a manufacturing plant somewhere obscure. Or the part, it needs to be ordered and you can't really put it together yourself without some form of code. The fact that everything's becoming electrical, the fact that we can't, things like Linux and computer operating are going to be a thing of the past because of artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence is a tool that will exploit us if we allow it to. And ultimately, I don't want to live in a world like that. Obviously, I can be lazy like anyone, and something can be written up for me in 2 seconds, like a piece of legal work. I can use that. But to the point that we are superseded in our ability to create original thought, just like in Independence Day, where the man flies perfectly, and he flies to his suicide, to saving the world. There's a human element in the creative process. In the creative process, there's a human element. They're indiscernible from each other because we're of life. And the fact that, I don't want to be a sort of a downer and say there's a judgment day, because I'm not. Like, I don't think the Terminators will necessarily turn against us. I think that we're turning against us in distrust. And the Karate Kid is basically this thing, this little indicator, red flag in reality, or just a flag. that says we distrust ourselves. We've spliced the Spider-Verse movie with Miles, Black Spider-Man, and we've spliced that with immigrant story because there's a higher share of the population that are immigrants. So we want to represent and appeal. So this guy goes to uh, New York and he's out of his element, out of his world, and he has to survive. So it's an algorithmic story with prompts laden ideas that may have been carried out, executed by humans, but we weren't the originators, and it holds a dishonesty to it with that fact. And it does seem to be a fact. Like, I've suspected this for a long time, even with the Lex Friedman podcast, or something that's like a glitch in the Matrix, if you will, like with Kanye West, not Keanu Reeves. Kanye West, like his behavior. Um, Things that are on the screen that we take for granted that make up our lives because of passivity that has become a stranglehold on our ability to live. This creative process, having been taken over by this uh, artificial intelligence, reeks of demonic uh, propensity to hate our own nature, and in that hate, actually create a bad nature, like a self fulfilling prophecy, like the dark side, like uh, Darth Vader, you know. I think there's some truth in the fact that what draws our focus becomes reality, and maybe we should just ignore this. I feel as if there will be people that go into better lives that have ideologies or just thought processes that will either incorporate this slightly in their lives, like artificial intelligence and what it can do for us, with what they can do for themselves and the lives that they can make for themselves and the labor that they can put into their lives, whether it's rearing animals, whether it's building things, you know, or it's just another form of advancement that can be siphoned into creating in a different way. Ultimately, I don't want us to relinquish our human aptitude of surviving and living and being creative through tough times. And everything's a tough time if you take it that way. And I think great positivity and awareness of short, shorting ourselves for a reality that could be great. Because this has great power, you know. This can be used. And zeros and ones weren't life to begin with, and they won't become life. And the more that they do this to us, like Hollywood, they create this entertainment system that's devoid of humanity. The more devoid of humanity they'll be in their viewership, um, and the more autonomous, automaton-like, I should say, the viewership will be that actually do give into this. And even though there is a culture of passivity that delves into this lack of creativity and becomes watchers of a bad realm created by dolls of robot likening, I do think that there'll be great inspiration in the ideas that we can put forward and actually uh, herald herald as ours, and they'll be elevated to a state that is even more godly and in God's image to match this artificial increase of emptiness and void and strangeness. We are elevated, and that's why people are becoming smarter, even though they're becoming sicker in some domains. Some people are becoming far stronger than before because they have the knowledge and they have the ability to steer a course through a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm quite hopeful. Be aware, be aware of this, and see if you aren't put into a daze sometimes and transfixed by the screen and our phones and put into a hypnotic state, because I feel as if this artificial lighting is can be imbued with great hazards to our health and great trappings, and we can be hypnotized. And I feel as if that is intentional sometimes, but ultimately it doesn't matter the intention as long as we know our own intention and create our lives accordingly and try our best, because that's what we put into our lives, and that's what stands the test of time. Thank you.